Pulse 95. Between local lines, notes from the Emirate.
Yes, notes from the Emirate indeed. And we are celebrating we're continuing the celebrations of the 50 glorious years of His Highness Sheikh Dr. Sultan bin Muhammad Al Qassimi, the Supreme Council member and ruler of Sharjah. And we are kindly joined here in the studio by His Excellency Marwan Al Serkal, the Executive Chairman of Shurooq. So good morning to you, Your Excellency.
Good morning and salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum. Thank you so much for being with us. And we are celebrating the leadership, the great and wise leadership of His Highness. And on that note, we would like to hear your sentiments about this day and the importance of this day and the significance of the Golden Jubilee celebrations of His Highness, the ruler of Sharjah's rule, from your point of view.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, we would like to thank you for giving us this opportunity. We're so proud to be part of seeing what have happened in Sharjah. In the last 50 years, what His Highness Dr. Sheikh Sultan bin Muhammad Al Qassimi have created to Sharjah is something that makes everyone living in Sharjah very proud. I mean, creating a very unique positioning for Sharjah, creating a city that is so civilized that you have the best education institutes, you have an industry that is so great because you have a chance for entrepreneurs to basically create themselves. You have factories that were created in Sharjah. You have ports that are on Indian Ocean or the Arabian Sea and the Arabian Gulf. You have an international airport that happened to become one of the busiest airports. You have an infrastructure that you can be proud of. And you have a touristic destination that everyone loves to visit when they come to Sharjah. You have amount of museums that has a variety, from archaeological museum to Islamic civilization to museums. And you have an amazing events calendar. So this didn't happen by a coincidence. It happened because His Highness had a great vision to make Sharjah one of a very unique positioning for it. True to its Arabian culture, true to its Islamic history, and also a very civilized and a modern city. So something like that it makes us very proud. First of all, being an employee working in a government entity, and also creating that sort of a development that every city within the Emirate of Sharjah has everything that it requires, whether it's the infrastructure, whether it's the economy that is a stable economy. So if you think about Sharjah has, yes, the Sharjah city, but then you have Khorfakan, Kalba, Dibba, Adhaid, Mleha, and each of those cities are very well civilized when it comes to the infrastructure, the universities, the schools. Some of them have ports even, hotels. So everything is available in each city. So you don't have to come to Sharjah to stay in it as a city. You can live in anywhere around the Emirate of Sharjah, and yet you have everything that you require. And that says a lot about His Highness's vision to create an emirate that has all of the standards of the highest standards of living, I would say, throughout the whole Emirate of Sharjah.
I'm going to get a little bit personal here. Besides His Highness being the ruler of this amazing emirate, he's considered as a father figure to so many, to everyone really here in Sharjah. And as a son, you look up to, of course, His Highness as a father figure, of course. So, and every son takes a trait from his father. So what is one characteristic or significant trait that you have adopted or incorporated in your personality from His Highness, that you find in His Highness?
Wow, there are many of them, So I've been working with His Highness and Her Highness Sheikh Abadur for more than a decade. What I've learned from him is a lot. I think looking at things from different perspectives is one of the things that I loved about His Highness. Taking decisions that are very wise are very, very important. But what was very important is how to give a chance for everyone. And I think that's what I learned from His Highness. And when we read the history of Sharjah, as you know, doesn't have oil or gas as much as other Arabian cities, I would say, around the Gulf. So he created a whole industry which is focusing on the industrial industry. And today we see Sharjah having one of the biggest industrial areas in the region. And so when you think about His Highness, he's very wise. He looks at everything. So everything is important for him. But the most important thing is how can you focus on man, or I mean the man himself, or a woman or a man. So it's education was very important to His Highness's his vision, in my point of view. So if you give the people the right to develop themselves, then you can expect the best out of them. And I think not making a difference between an Emirati or a non-Emirati or an Arab or a non-Arab, I think that is something that I love to see about His Highness. I remember when we were giving out the Knowledge Without Borders project, where we used to give all Emirati families a library. His Highness said, we don't differentiate.
Yeah.
So if there's a family in between, just give them. You can't differentiate anyone. And I thought that was very wise. His Highness is also one of the leaders of creating the union. And yes, he became the ruler in January 1972, but he's been there from the beginning as the first Minister of Education. And so he was one that actually stood behind creating the United Arab Emirates, and he was the one that was always pushing towards not Sharjah, but also the United Arab Emirates. So he's not loved only within Sharjah citizens, he's loved within the whole, I would say, the Emiratis, the non-Emiratis, whoever lives in the UAE, but also the Arab world. And I think that is so amazing about His Highness. You would hear him out in every event. You would hear him out in a sports activity, you would hear him out in an education activity, you would hear him out talking about arts. So he's very well educated, and that's what makes him a bit different than many leaders that we know.
And I'd like to know a little bit more about the developments, because over the last 20 years, people from abroad, internationally, they've seen Sharjah's image now change to become a bit more of a glamping destination, a bit more of a ecotourism has been a huge focus. Now, well before ecotourism, I remember my early days in journalism over here, especially when we decided to carve the Al Majaz Park to create what the waterfront is.
Yeah.
That whole project must have been, people must have thought, that is ridiculous. You're cutting down
Crazy.
a massive park to create something like a waterfront. Talk to us about that project, how that was envisioned, and how challenging that was. Now we see Al Majaz waterfront, and we're celebrating even at the amphitheater tonight.
Yeah. Well, first of all, to start with, when we developed Shurooq as a strategy, and to develop the vision of Shurooq, to create developments and projects all around the Emirate of Sharjah, it was not an easy process, and especially going to one of the most important locations as a touristic location, and cutting off that park that used to be called Al Majaz Park and creating a waterfront was not an easy decision.
Yeah.
I remember that time, even when we went to His Highness with many projects, and he said to us, guys, you need to focus, or you need to focus on the heart of Sharjah and let everything else on the side. At that time, we had Al Majaz as just an ID, and we almost were thrown away out of the office at that time. When he thought about it, and he came back to us, and he told us, you know what, I actually like this project, so let's start with this project. And we started with Al Majaz, and at the beginning, nobody believed the idea of how Al Majaz is going to be a destination. And then His Highness said, you know what, let's do the water features, the musical fountains, and you can't just do it. You need to add restaurants to it. So it's a lot about His Highness's vision, how to create spaces for people, how you want people to enjoy the waterfront rather than just the drivers enjoying the waterfront. And from there, then we have built trust that we developed the heart of Sharjah. We developed the Noor Island with its musical, I would say the beautiful butterfly park, and that beautiful idea of keeping all of the trees in Al Noor Island was His Highness's philosophy. So he said, don't remove any tree from that site. Try to build all around it, so all the pathway will have to go through the islands of Al Noor Island. And so the philosophy of, you have to respect nature, you have to respect any place that you're going to develop. And you have to make sure that every development suits its location. So if you think about the Kingfisher Retreat, it suits the Kingfisher, it suits the wildlife. So instead of building brick and mortar, you build tents rather than brick and mortar. Then every location you go to, you have to build around it. So Mleha is all about archaeology. So let's develop a program with the authority of archaeology and think about creating a program for tourists to enjoy. And then, Al Moon Retreat came out as a different destination. And then we have Albedae as another oasis. So every location has a different positioning. And it's all about His Highness's vision to create different projects. They're so unique from each other, yet so distinctive from each other, but they complement what Sharjah is offering. So from Al-Bayt, restoring those historical houses and making one of the only historical houses, I would say, that are converted to a proper hotel, because we've seen those projects in the Gulf popping up, but they don't proceed. They fail after a couple of years. But us, we went to one of the most prominent hotel operator, the Chedi, and getting them here. They're like one of 4 hotels around the globe. Being in Sharjah, being in Muscat and Andermatt is not an easy.
Exactly.
And then the chance to give entrepreneurs the idea of opening up their pop-ups. Like today, you go to the desert and you have not a space, and you have common and uncommon and barista vibes, and then venturing into a different sector, which is real estate, but trying to do something totally different by creating the first sustainable city in Sharjah, making people believe that you don't have to build a big house to enjoy it. You have to have the right size of houses. But think about solar power, think about reusing of water, thinking about that you can get your vegetables from the organic farm that is next door, having your own jogging track or a cycling track, having your own school, and making sure that the price is not expensive. So you can buy a house for 1.3 million all the way to 2.7, I believe. So from a 4-bedroom to a 5-bedroom, and also thinking about whoever lives here wants to have privacy. So they want to have their own garden, I would say. So we thought about all of those things, and then we went to another sector which is part of the real estate sector, which is developing waterfront developments with Mariam Island, with Eagle Hills, Sharjah, and creating a different positioning for it. There it's more apartments, but there you have the waterfront, the cafes, the restaurants, and then going to a totally different sector and going to mobility. And that was the directions of Sheikh Abdur, that we can't only focus on tourism and also real estate, let's venture into mobility. So we went and got Careem and Uber to Sharjah. So all of the Careem and Ubers in Sharjah are actually owned by an operator called Emirates Transportation / Shurooq, which is Sharjah Transportation Systems, where we offer Careem and Uber, and we would like to give opportunity for others to come and be part of this mobility shifting, because that's called shared economy, as we all know. And the world is moving towards not owning but actually sharing. And then venturing all the way to recycling. We are responsible of one of the biggest water recycling plants in the GCC. We created an affiliation with B6 from Belgium to recycle water and then retreat water and then reuse water. So all of the water that is going to the Sharjah Safari is actually coming from our plant. So from one sector to another sector, we love venturing and thinking about new sectors, because the motto of Sharjah Investment and Development Authority is moving forward in every sector. And we enjoy what we're doing.
MashaAllah, Shurooq has been very busy.
Difficult to list them down as well.
I know, you cannot keep up really, but MashaAllah. And there has been a focus as well on infrastructure in this year's budget. So we want to talk more about the upcoming developments as well in the infrastructure field. And what can we expect from the developments in Kalba in particular?
So Kalba is exciting. We started with Kalba with Al-Hafiyah. Al-Hafiyah, where we released the gazelles with the EPA. And then we created the Kingfisher Retreat, which we're actually expanding. We had a huge demand, but we always had the idea that we were going to expand one day. So we started with 20 tents. By the end of 2022, we're going to have 40 tents, so we're doubling the amount of tents. We're trying to give chance for more people to enjoy it. We're improving the facilities there also, so we're adding three different types of tents, from 2-bedroom to 3-bedroom to 4-bedroom. And then the biggest project is the waterfront in Kalba. Kalba is an amazing city. It has this beautiful beachfront, but they lack a shopping mall or a retail component. So with Eagle Hills Sharjah, which is partially owned by Shurooq, we developed a waterfront in Kalba. So it's going to be one of the attractions in Kalba. So you'll have an entertainment center, coffee shops, restaurants, retail. Retail is very important for the economy of any city. So we're going to have that. Then on the whole beachfront, Kalba has, I believe, one of the longest beachfronts in the Emirates, maybe 12 kilometers. We're going to add pop-up retails, and we are also adding an adventure park.
Okay.
Within the mountains of Kalba. We're creating trekking routes, we're creating mountain routes and bike routes, and so we're creating a hub for whoever that likes adventure.
Amazing.
And then we're creating a luxury villa on the top of one of the mountains to overlook the Indian Ocean and the Hafiyya Park. So a different positioning for Kalba than Khorfakan and I would say Dibba also.
Amazing. But we call a show the Morning Majlis, and this is a setting where people feel a bit relaxed and talk about the long-term vision. So let's talk numbers and dates. So when can we expect the safari park to be ready? When can we expect Al Hira to be ready? And when can we expect Kalba to be ready? Let's start with the safari park.
So safari park, I'll leave it to EPA.
Okay.
we're still not involved in that.
Okay.
But we're all anticipating that project. I think that's going to be something amazing. But I would talk about our projects, which are Shurooq projects. So the Kingfisher Retreat, inshallah, by just after Ramadan. So we're celebrating Eid by opening up the extra 20 units.
Okay.
And by that, we mean that we're also upgrading the current tenants. The current tents, sorry.
Okay.
Al Hira is, and by the way, the shopping mall is also going to the waterfront shopping mall in Kalba is going to be opened also by the mid of 2022.
Okay.
So let's say May, June. Then Al Hira is one of the most anticipated, I would say, projects in Sharjah. There we took over the whole beachfront and we developed 3 locations for cafes and restaurants. So 3 clusters. There we're adding cafes and restaurants, mainly F&B. We're trying to get new tenants that have never been to Sharjah and different scales. So each cluster will have a different positioning, I would say. We're almost getting the handover in 2022. February. I would say the coffee shops and restaurants will be open just after summer, I would say.
Okay.
So because it's the fit out of those restaurants. So we're almost done with the infrastructure, with the developments. This project is designed by 3 Deluxe from Germany. They are the same architect that have designed Al Noor Island.
Okay.
So you'll expect something different than any of the beachfronts, and we created clusters so people can move from one area to another area.
Okay.
Very nice project, and I think you'll notice that we are going to open up the hoardings around the project very soon. Then we have Albedae Retreat.
Okay.
We're having the expansion also. Also adding 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom units. We have recently opened an open pool. We never had a pool, outdoor pool in Albedae. We used to have a very small indoor pool because the whole project was totally different. Albedae started with a small project, ended up having it transformed from a destination to a hotel. So today it's a resort, and so we added an outdoor pool, which was a great addition to it. We're adding a kids club, a spa, and more units. So bigger units, I would say, for larger families. We noticed that bigger families enjoy our project, so this is one of the things that made us grow with Albedae, and this is going to be also opened. This one's going to be before summer.
Before summer,
yes,
okay.
Inshallah. So by June, I would say it will be ready. Then what do we have?
Well, we have listed pretty much everything as well, isn't it? It's wonderful to see what the projects we're looking forward to, and thank you very much for joining us this morning on the program, and also painting the picture of what to expect in 2022. And I personally am looking forward to the safari park. So I think most of Sharjawis and Sharjawiyas are also looking forward to it. Thank you very much for joining us, Executive Chairman of Shurooq, His Excellency Marwan bin Jassim Serkal. And if you'd like to catch this discussion as a podcast or even as a video podcast, you can log on to YouTube and SoundCloud and search for The Morning Majlis. You're listening to The Morning Majlis only on Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of the Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.
Bubbles.